Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today. And today, the Los Angeles Chargers beat the Detroit Lions in the first preseason game back. Look, some people are weird about preseason football. They're like, I don't care. I don't want to watch. It's like, who cares? But, honestly, I think football is gone too long to not care when preseason is going on. I think with NBA and MLB, look at it like, honestly, when NBA preseason comes along, MLB spring training, sure, if you miss a sport and you want to watch the preseason or spring training, those two sports, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But like with those two sports, it's only really 3 months of off season from the end of the championship of those two sports and then to the preseason or the spring training. And then with the NFL, like Super Bowl ends beginning of February. That's the second month of the year, and then preseason doesn't start either first day of August or at last day of July, which is the 7th and 8th month of the year. So it's 5 to 6 months with no football, and that's just preseason football, which or I did have it wrong. I believe it's 5 to 6 months with no football. If you include preseason, but it's 7 months from the point of, from the end of the Super Bowl to the regular season starting. But tonight's game was interesting. I mean, it wasn't a close game, but I was really interested in watching Trey Lance in this game. I thought he was phenomenal, and it was fun to watch him tonight for the first half and a solid chunk of the third quarter that he was in. He was in for about half the third quarter. He looked good. 13 for 20 to 120 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns, playing 2.5 quarters. So I was impressed with him. The Chargers win this game 34-7. They have the 5th most points scored of all, or tied for the 4th most points scored in all time in a Hall of Fame game. The most points ever scored in a Hall of Fame game is 48 points by their team. They're not even a team anymore. The Baltimore Colts put up 48 points. I mean, that's now the Indianapolis Colts, I think, or maybe that's the Baltimore Ravens. I believe that's the Indianapolis Colts now. But 48 points for Baltimore Colts in 1964 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then and back then the Hall of Fame game was played in September. And then September, now when you see week 1 of the regular season, Green Bay Packers had 38 points against the Falcons in 1969. 1992, August, it was the New York Jets and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Jets put up 41 points. And then this is the most recent 30-point game. This was the last time there was a 30-point game in the Hall of Fame game. The New York Giants, 34 points against the Houston Texans in 2002. And that was the Texans' first year as a franchise. But yeah, that's the last time 30 points was scored in a game. I mean, it's been we've been through half of we've been through a good chunk of 1 decade, 8 years of a decade, a full decade, and a half of a decade. 23 years since it's been done. That's kind of crazy to think about. And this is also the most combined points scored in a ball game. The Lions and the Chargers combined points of 41 points since 2013. 44 points in 2013. So with not a lot of stars playing these Hall of Fame games, there's not usually a high amount of points. But so 41 is really high for the Hall of Fame game. But scoring summary, Chargers, one of their first drives, Trey Lance to a 5-yard touch. Yeah, their first drive, 5-yard touchdown pass to Will Dissly, 7-0 after that. Nice throw by Trey Lance. And then, the next drive, Kamani Vidal with a 2-yard touchdown run. It's 14-0. Craig Reynolds had a 3-yard touchdown run in the second quarter with 5 minutes left to make it 14-7. That was the Lions' only score. 21-7 after a Trey Lance 15-yard touchdown pass to Keandre Lambert-Smith. 21-7 after that. A couple of field goals in the third a couple of field goals in the third quarter for kicker Cameron Dicker, 23-yard and 27-yarders for him, 24-27. The Lions did not make any field goals tonight. I don't think that's surprising when they go for it on fourth down all the time. They had a couple opportunities to kick some field goals tonight and decided to go for fourth downs. Could have had some interesting long field goal kicks by Jake Bates, but you saw Dan Campbell really going for it, which that's not a surprise. And then a second touchdown for Kamani Von Vidal, 2-yard touchdown run to make it 34-7. He had a good day today. All right, game leaders, Trey Lance, 13 for 20, 120 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Kyle Allen, 9 for 14, 94 passing yards. 91 passing yards, 2 interceptions thrown. I think he had some solid throws. The only reason I wouldn't look at this performance and be too negative on it, even though there was 2 interceptions, is just the fact that the guy he's competing with for that backup spot, Hendon Hooker, didn't look very good either in this game. I'll go over his stats in just a minute. Rushing yard leaders, Vidal, 9 carries, 37 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Craig Reynolds, 10 carries, 38 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Then you've got Lambert Smith, 2 receptions, 43 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. He played great in this game. He had that touchdown catch. They had a big 28 receiving yard catch on their first touchdown drive. Their first touchdown drive. Then Tisla had 2 receptions for 46 receiving yards for the Lions. I talked about Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker wasn't very good in this game either. You thought Allen was bad, throwing 9 for 14 with 91 pass yards and 2 picks. He had some Kyle Allen actually had some really good throws at some times in this game. But Hendon Hooker, 3 for 6, 18 passing yards, throwing 1 pick, was sacked 2 times compared to Allen's 0. Hooker ran for 9 rushing yards compared to Allen's 5. Jabari Small also ran for 11 carries and 35 rushing yards tonight. Hassan Haskins was also really good for the Chargers in the run game. 6 carries, 34 rushing yards. DJ Uiagalelei from Florida State and Clemson made his first throws as an NFL quarterback, going 2 for 3 today with 25 passing yards. Nyheim Hines made his NFL return after a bad accident a couple years ago. He had 8 carries for 34 rushing yards. Marion Hampton, 2 carries and 9 rushing yards, the rookie draft pick. Trey Lance ran for 8 rushing yards. You would have thought he would have ran the ball more. He's a very aggressive runner. And that was really it for running in this game. Outside of Keandre Lambert-Smith's receiving, there wasn't a lot of other big receivers. I mean, Tucker Fisk had a one reception for 19 receiving yards. Jarrett Patterson had 2 receptions for 18 receiving yards. Will Disley, who is probably, you could look at as the backup tight end on this Chargers roster, had 2 receptions for 14 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown. The son of legend Jerry Rice, Brendan Rice, had 1 reception for 13 receiving yards. Hassan Haskins had 1 reception for 8 receiving yards. Nyheim Hines had 1 reception for 4 receiving yards. Trey Harris, rookie, was out there, but did not do anything. Outside of Isaac Tisla, or I think I'm saying that right. There wasn't a lot of other big plays on the receiving end for the Lions, as they only had 100 passing yards, or 109. Dominic Lovett had 5 receptions for 31 receiving yards. Craig Reynolds had 1 reception for 10 receiving yards. Fumbles in this game. Grant Stewart lost a fumble, recovered by Kendall Williamson. That was on a kickoff. Dez Fitzpatrick. So Trey Lance fumbled. There was 2 lost fumbles. One was by Jacoby Keeney James, and the other was Grant Stewart, and those 2 fumbles were covered for the Chargers by Dez Fitzpatrick, wide receiver, and Kendall Williamson, special teamer. And then Trey Lance fumbled in this game. He recovered his own fumble. And so that was really it with fumbles. Defensive stats, Emini Johnson led the Chargers in tackles with 7. Ezekiel Turner led the Lions at 7. The Chargers had 2 sacks, one for Tara Edwards, and the other went to Tremont Morris Brash. 1 sack for the Lions, Grant Stewart. So he was able to make up for that fumble. He had 2 tackles for loss as well. Interceptions, 3 for the Chargers. A big interception return for Miles Purchase, who had an interception return for 48 yards. And that was a big play for him, the undrafted rookie. And then Nico Reed had a 1 interception, which he returned for 60 yards. And then veteran Tony Jefferson had an interception. So, yeah, that really does it for this game. Like I said, I liked what I saw from Trey Lance. Just glad to have football back. We'll see as preseason will kick off a little bit more next week. Starting next Thursday, we'll see some more preseason action. This video, hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.